Good morning, everyone. As I said in my Tuesday video, I'm not feeling real good, so I wasn't planning on doing a video, but I took a look at the charts yesterday and thought that it was important to point something out. Um, in Tuesday's video, at about the 6-minute 40-second mark, I commented about the gap fill area being support, and if you take a look, um, this was yesterday. Gap fill area starts at 280.30, and it's a small window. If you look here, let's see if I can get this to zoom out a little bit more so we can see the bottom of that gap fill. Alright, let me go to the daily so you can see where the bottom of it is. You see it starts here, these two purple lines. That's yesterday's close. Gap fill right here is 280.30, and the bottom of that gap fill is 280.08. So it's a very tight window. A lot of traders like to play those tight windows like that because that's a resistance area or support area. If you have a big gap, let's say your gap is from, I'll just draw a couple lines. Say your gap is from here to here. This whole area is going to be support. Where do you buy at? You don't really want to buy here because your stop is technically down here. So it's harder to play the bigger gaps like this. So a lot of traders like when there's small gaps like this one here. That's why I said that it would probably offer quite a bit of support because it's such a small window. You only have 22 cents of movement here. That 22 cents, if you bought, let me zoom in a little bit so just make this area a little bit bigger. If you bought right here and your stop out was below this one, that's not that bad of a stop. Depending on your expirations, you're not looking at that big of a stop. It's something that's reasonable and tolerable if you had to stop out of this trade. So I felt this was going to be pretty strong support. And let me go back to the 5-minute chart. And it could be the 10-minute chart. It could be whatever chart. It's still going to be the same price level. We came down right to that level. This was 280.30. We came down to 280.32. I was sick yesterday. I didn't pay much attention to charts yesterday. But I happened to see this at the end of the day, and I figured I'd get a video out this morning just showing this. So it's 280.30. Like I said, Tuesday is going to be a strong support level. And you come over here, pre-market. We haven't quite hit it yet. We're down to 280.44 on this candle. So we're testing it, not testing, we're getting close to it again. Let's see if it holds it again. If it holds it again, then we're going to have a nice double bottom. And you really can't call this double bottom when it's pre-market, but you're still going to have a nice support level there. And it's going to be tested twice in the last 20 hours or so. So if we hold this 280.30, I'd look for a bounce back up. If we lose the 280.30, from a technical standpoint, your stop out is going to be a close below 280.08, which is the other gap fill. So if we lose that 280.08, then I'd say, myself, I'd be looking at puts. I'm pretty sick today, so I don't think I'm going to do anything. I might paper trade, but I'm not sure I'll do anything with this. I'm not sure if I'll do a video later today or not, but I just wanted to point that out. Like I said, I mentioned it in the Tuesday video, the 6-minute 40-second mark, to watch that 280.30 level. And you see we bounced off of it perfectly yesterday. I haven't really looked at this chart, so I don't really, we're going to kind of play by the fly, on the fly right now. We opened just above the 100 simple moving average, and we pulled back we lost a couple of support levels. There's a pivot right here. You see we came up, touched that pivot, just barely broke through it, but we didn't close above it. So that pivot held. And you see, okay, we're down here now at these levels, 280.30. Let's see if it bounces, see if it holds. I'm watching over here. You can watch 10-minute or the 3-minute, either one. But you see, we bounced off that pivot. The resistance level held. Came down. We fell through this pivot all the way down and touched this gap fill. This would have been a good area. It would have been, I can understand not entering this, because by the time you enter, you would have had to have entered right here, and you really had no technical reason to enter other than a gut feeling that that support's going to hold. Yeah, this candle looks pretty good, and you could enter after this candle, but now the problem is your stop out's going to be way down here, and your target is going to be right about here. So it makes it kind of tough. Your risk reward isn't great. Ideally, I would have liked to have seen this pull back a little bit more to here, maybe about here for an entry. But you know, if you were confident enough that this level would hold, you could have jumped in right here and you could have had a really nice pop. So I did make one trade yesterday. I forgot about that. It wasn't a break even. It was a very small loss. I got in puts right here on this candle. Bought puts because of this pivot point. Yeah, we closed above it right here, but we had a long wick, and then we had a red candle that started out up here, and it started pulling back. So I jumped in just below this pivot point, and I started seeing some, like I pointed out the other day, that activity where it flutters and it's like something's going to happen. And I got burned on it last week, and I didn't want to get burned on it this week, so I wasn't sure which way it was going to go. So I got out. I think I paid something like $1.32, and I sold them for like $1.26. It was a small loss, but if I would have been a little more patient, you see what happened here. So I had the call right. I just kind of got shook out of it just because of what happened the other day with those puts I was in when it popped. After this, it's kind of risky because right about here, 2 o'clock was they had a FOMC. So I was going to be all cash right here. I didn't want to be in anything at this point. I know a lot of guys with Traders Council chat room. They played calls right here, and they were hitting 50% winners in a minute, 2 minutes. So you see, we came up, we tested this. Actually, this is today's pivot. We lost that level here. This is today's pivot because I've already moved these. You can see over here. I've already moved these markers, so this actually wasn't a pivot yesterday. It may have been a pivot, but this is yesterday or today's pivot that I moved. So there might not have been a resistance level here. I can't go back and check that now because the pivots only go back till the beginning of that session. So this is where it's at currently. Something doesn't look right here. Maybe I messed this up. 281.79 for my pivot. I don't usually look at yesterday's pivot levels. 281.79. You know this. You know what? I think this is 282.73. I'm thinking this might be. Yeah, these are yesterday's pivots. So yeah, that's right. That is accurate. These are showing yesterday's pivots. So this was a pivot. This was not actually a pivot yesterday. So we didn't bounce off a pivot here. And that's kind of one of the pitfalls of doing video the next day, because your lines are all messed up then. But anyway, you see, this is what I wanted to point out. This gap here. Go back and watch Tuesday's video when I talked about it. The 6-minute 40-second mark, I talked about this being pretty good support here. You see we've lost it now, but If we close above it, I would look for a big bounce to the upside. If this 5-minute candle, closes above this 280.30, I think we get a nice big pop up. No, there's nothing we can do about it pre-market, but just something to watch. And it's, see, it might get down to that 280.08. We get down to that 280.08, it might bounce from there. Because remember, it's actually 280.07. Looks like there. This whole area is support. It's not just this line or this line. This would be a support area. When they're this close together, you can call this a support range. If any of you have ever studied the Ichimoku charts, they use support levels, or support ranges rather than levels. And there's a bunch of mathematic formulas to figure out the I can't remember what the lines, Tension K. I don't remember what the lines are called now. I haven't used it for several years, but they use support and resistance ranges. They don't use a particular level. So you're kind of doing the same thing here when you have two support levels that close together. You can consider that a range. So normally, if you have a support level here with another support level way down, your stop is going to be the close below this. But when it's this close together, you can pull your stop down to this one. So it's kind of, not really forget about this one, but this one doesn't have as much meaning when you have one this close. So this is the one I would be worried about. I wouldn't jump into puts on a 280.30 break. The 280.07 is the one that I would pay attention to in terms of pull back further, and that comes from this gap right here. This is called a rising window. You see the high of this candle was 280.07, as indicated up here. 280.07, and the low of this one was 280.30. So this in here is a gap, which is going to be support or resistance range. And I have this indicator to show where there's a gap. Excuse me. Another gap back here, but this one's been filled by these candles. So I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look and see if there's any more gaps up here, but we're not that far up yet. So we get closer to that, I'll start looking at that. But let me go back to the daily again real quick. You see today, or yesterday's close, we have a spinning top, which is more of an indecision candle. The stochastics came down. I still think we're going to pull back. I think we're going to see red today. Personally, I don't think we're going to hold this. I think we're going to pull back further. We have a gap right here actually. Lows 278.85, highs 278.62. So we have another tight gap right here. Once this breaks, then I'll move these purple lines down to here. So yeah, we have another gap here. So we'll see more support around the 278.80 level if we get that far down. But I'm not. I watch the gaps, but I don't rely 100% on them for plays, for entries. I know one of my mentors definitely keeps an eye on those, and that's one of his favorite plays. But I haven't. It seems like every time I try to play it, it fails. So, but that's kind of one of his bread and butter plays. And if you want to learn more about that, just look up anything with Steve Nissen. Make sure I pronounce his name right. Steve Nissen. He's probably one of the best there is to learn candlesticks from. He has several books, but he talks about, he calls them rising and falling windows, which is what the Japanese call them. The Japanese don't call them gaps. And for anybody that's not familiar, these candlesticks are actually Japanese candlesticks. The Japanese created these for trading rice futures way back hundreds of years ago. So that's where this comes from, and why they're called Japanese candlesticks. But um, yeah, if you want to learn more about the gap plays, gap trades, read up on Steve Nissen, and he covers them pretty well. Uh, so that's about it for today. Let's I'm gonna see if this 280.07 holds. If it doesn't hold, I look for a pretty big red candle after this. And if it doesn't hold, then we'll be moving these marks, these lines down to the next gap fill. But we'll see what it does. We're pretty red today so far, pre-market. The ES mini futures are down 11, almost 12 points. That's fairly significant. I don't think there was any news coming out this morning pre-market that would affect this, so I'm not sure what this is caused by. Just general market sell-off, nervousness, whatever you want to call it. Not real sure. So far we're holding that level. Like I said, if we lose this level, then at that point I think I would be looking towards a red day for sure. If we hold that level, I don't know if we go green or not, because we're down pretty far. I don't know if we'll end up green by the end of the day, but it's definitely be more likely if we close above that, if we hold above that 280.07. And then on top of that, you have the 280 mental support. I don't put as much weight into the mental support levels, but when you have a technical support level right there on that same mark, and actually I just noticed this, we have S1 pivot at 280.08. That's why I called it 280.08 earlier. So we have the S1 pivot at 280.08. We have the gap close at 280.07, and then we have mental at 280 even. So there's actually quite a bit of support there. So yeah, when you have big support like that and you lose it, there's going to be a lot of stops that are going to be triggered. A lot of shorts are going to jump in. Obviously, for this particular instance, you're not going to be playing options on it. But if this was during regular market hours, there'd be a lot of put buying at that point too, or call selling if you play that way. But I don't do that. I don't sell to open unless I'm doing the spreads paper trading. But all right, I'm gonna cut this video off. I'm not feeling real good, but keep an eye on these levels today. I just wanted to make sure I pointed that out for you, and kind of explain a little bit further, because I mentioned it the other day. I wanted to kind of go into a little bit more detail now that we actually see it. So not sure if I'll do a video later. We'll see how I feel. We'll see what the charts look like at the end of the day. If there's anything significant that I want to point out, I'll do a quick one. But all right, good luck trading today, and maybe I'll catch you. I probably won't do one tomorrow. I'm going to be out tomorrow, so I might not see another video till Monday. But anyway, good luck with your trading today, and hope you have a green day. Thanks.